Welcome back to the Somin Podcast. This is episode, I don't know,
I have no idea anymore. I'm not going to keep count.
14?
Sure.
15? I have not a clue.
Love it.
Doesn't matter. We're here having conversations we would have had anyway. That worked.
Yeah.
And we have a cool guest today that I've never met as of, we've known each other for 7 minutes.
Go way back.
Go way back. We're good buds. We want to thank a couple people. One,
At Bolton Mink Studios on the gram.
Thank you for the real solutions,
Real people,
real solutions,
and real big coffee cups.
There we go.
There you go.
Pelican Coolers.
Pelican Coolers, we're still coming after you. You'll finally have enough content to vet like whether or not you're comfortable sponsoring this podcast.
And we just found out that this is an astronaut cooler.
We did. Yep.
It is bear proof and
It's Brandon Lee Hayes proof. So, thank you. Shout out to Tony at Bolton Mink Studios and Daniel at Bolton Mink Studios.
Daniel's on the switches back there today. So we're going to see if the podcast is better than Tony, then we might keep him.
Yeah. And
we also want to say, I don't know if Tony can zoom in because I don't have a sticker. Forgot to bring it, so I'm going to have to get you one. We want to thank
for you.
Pastel Pencil. Thank you, Pastel Pencil, for all of your marketing needs, including cool stickers.
Thank you, Pastel Pencil.
And I think is that it?
That's it. For now.
Can you tell us about who we have sitting next to me here?
Yeah,
The astronaut that can't get in the cooler.
So this is a fun podcast for me. Like the Dan Sprague podcast we did, I don't know, 5 or 6 episodes ago was Your Best Friend. Mm-hmm. So my best friend is Brandon Lee Hayes. And so our guest today is my best friend, Brandon Lee Hayes. Hails from Lakeville, Minnesota. He's the guy that I referenced the hockey butt thing, in like one of the hockey butt episodes.
It's a real thing.
He's hockey butt guy.
It's all there.
It is a real thing.
So we would joke and talk about hockey butt. So this episode is going to be all over the place. We're going to have a good time. I'll kick it over to Brandon. He can talk about himself. I think he's seen some of the episodes in the past. He probably binge watched them like yesterday, because that's what friends do. But usually it's, background, where you're from. We start there and then just kind of go. And he's probably the most prepared guest we've ever had.
You had an itinerary list before we even started. This was like yesterday. I was impressed.
I'm not a planner by nature, so it just goes to show how excited I was to to get in here and get my 15 minutes.
Well, we're going to give you more than 15 minutes. If you totally suck in like a half hour, we'll be cutting it and you'll know it was bad. But if we go at least an hour, then you'll know it was fine.
Right on. You have the emergency call.
It's right back there. There's a button. We just hit it. It's red and sirens go off and we all leave.
Cone of silence. So
tell us about yourself.
Sure. Yeah. Brandon Hayes, as Wade said, I hail from Lakeville. Moved to a rival city, Eden Prairie. They were hated growing up in high school. But yeah, I've got 3.5-year-old twin boys that pretty much keeps me busy when I'm not alone in my basement on camera for work, 40 hours a week.
What do you do for work?
I work, and we talked about this before. I don't know where this is going to go for sure. But,
so no names, no brands.
I made it pretty clear that to a couple of my coworkers that I was coming on here, and I did not get marketing approval. So this is in no way affiliated with my employer if it does come out. But
there's your disclaimer.
Yeah.
All the guests on this show,
you don't have to
share their own
opinions.
opinions.
Like, say the employer. You just say I'm in blank industry or something like that if you want to. Also,
sure.
You can keep your anonymity.
I like it. That's why the mask too.
He's in construction.
And grayed out, right?
Yeah, completely.
I work for a multinational or global third-party logistics company headquartered in Eden Prairie. You'll be able to figure that out. But
you just shot yourself in the foot there. I mean, you screwed that up.
In no way is he affiliated at this time. He will be tomorrow.
Yeah, I've been there for, a little over 7 years in a few different roles. But I started off just kind of taking a leap of faith, changing industries, and I got into brokerage. So I was banging phones, trying to book freight with carriers, buy low, sell high, or maybe that's opposite, I don't know. But I was kind of learning the industry, cutting my teeth that was the best job, and I still say that to the people that I train. I did that for about 1.5 years, and got an opportunity to move to the commercial or the account management side and further learn more about the industry. And with that, I was really responsible for managing some produce importers. You think about fresh strawberries and
Yep.
and grapes and things like that in the winter. Well, it's not from here, So learn quite a bit about that. But
So what are the biggest challenges in getting something like that
Yeah.
here before it spoils?
sure,
That's something I want to talk about too. Is I think it would be easy to go down the whole path of like, I know we've known each other for 25 plus years, but I really am fascinated by how that works, and I want to dig into that and talk about that for a little bit if we can.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I, in no means, fully an expert because the industry is obviously always changing. With, the pandemic going on right now, the recent freeze in Texas, things like that absolutely affect the supply chain of any commodity. Whether it's tires or milk, it's all affected by those things. But what a 3PL really does is we take the shippers, the folks that need to move their product to their customers, and we bring them together with the carriers that are for hire to move the freight, and we pair them up and ultimately find efficiencies in repeat volumes, or we combine volumes in a certain lane, as they call it, like LA to Phoenix. We'll just say there's 100 different customers in LA moving to 100 different spots in Phoenix. Well, if it's not a full truckload, we combine that and just make it one shipment. So at a very basic level, that's kind of what a 3PL does. And I have a basic level of knowledge of a little, like an inch deep and a mile wide, because my current role is I train our new hires.
Okay.
So that's my main kind of focus right now. But I also get into management and leadership skills with our managers, sales skills, things like that. In the old world, I used to travel around to different satellite offices and train. Now, like I said, it's me, myself, and I in the basement staring at a couple different computer screens.
So, explain to me how far away. So we're in Minnesota. How far? Obviously, so in podcasts, that's a dumb thing to say. But so, how far does stuff come? Like a strawberry or grapes or apples or oranges, or like where are we getting all that stuff? And how long does it take from grower, pluck it off the tree or however it comes, and then to Hy-Vee or something in Mankato and we buy it and consume it?
Sure. Yeah. It really depends. It's going to be an answer. It depends on what it is and what time of year it is. But if you think about, as the seasons change, the world shifts. There's growing regions in South America, in the Iberian Peninsula. That's where the two main places that the customers that I managed brought their produce in from. But I would say all of the supply chain, there's the cold chain. So everything's got to be held to temperature for things like that. But for produce, it's pretty quick. With the farm to table local is big. When you can't do that, there's still that urgency because shelf life can decrease really rapidly. If I had to guess, I'd say, within a couple of weeks from pulling off a vine in South America to getting to your Hy-Vee.
Which is amazing to even think about, because it used to take 30 years to get from New York to San Francisco. And what's the joke? You're the comedian, Wade, but there's a joke where they talk about like the people would set off to go to like San Francisco from New York, and by the time you actually got there,
Half of them are dead.
the people who actually set out are all dead.
They're all dead.
And it's not like the kids of those
Like the people you left with, you didn't arrive with.
You didn't even. They didn't
People
even
had
get there.
babies, they died.
And now we're taking like eating an orange or something that was grown, and within, let's say, 10 days, it's in Mankato, Minnesota. I think that's bonkers.
Yeah, and so
Pretty
when he got that job, and he was kind of telling me, I was like, so what do you do? He was like, I'm in logistics, which is like, I don't know. Like I think about like Ray Liotta's character and like Goodfellas when they go to like I think it's like the Copa.
I'm in sanitation.
Like I'm in construction. And it's like, I'm in logistics. And I was like, is that a real job? And I was like, so what is it exactly? And he tells me the story. And he's like, well, I have this territory or whatever. And if you have, if you're in like the Pac Northwest, has a certain territory, right? If it's, highly perishable things, I'm just going to say blueberries or strawberries or apples, things that bruise are highly perishable things. How do we get those here and they taste really good? And like, how does that work? He's like, that's what I do. You basically, like my understanding was you essentially would broker how you get those from the folks that do the actual growing and then the distribution, delivery to the end user. Like you set that process and make it happen from, not for every product, but for many products. You might have the whole thing, like the whole brand and everything, and from start to finish. And it reminded me of when they went to do the interview with the kindergartners and they ask him, you guys know about this thing, like food? They're like, where did tomatoes come from? And the kids are like, the grocery store, And they're like, no, they actually come from plants. And he's like, no, they don't. This kid's like, I was just there the other day. I saw them right there. Like, they definitely come from there. And I think that's how a lot of people think about it.
I think most adults probably think the
Seriously,
same thing.
Yeah. Well, even meat or any of that stuff.
Yeah.
I've had conversations. I grew up hunting, and it's like it's not unusual for me to go deer hunting, shoot a deer, gut the deer, take it, and butcher that. That's not unusual to me. You say that to some people, and they're like, "Whoa, what is going on? Why would you Why would you do that?"
Yeah,
It's like
that poor animal.
Yep.
That's providing nourishment for my family.
It's like, well, you want to talk about organic? It's like that's the best organic meat you can find.
Yeah.
But
yeah, like my buddy,
they don't know where it comes from.
there's a huge disconnect. And there's somewhat of a disconnect too with the international multi whatever shipment of highly perishable goods or juices or really anything, even something that's not so perishable like almonds. Like how the hell that happens. Like I have a bag and they're shucked or whatever you call it, cracked, and I have a bag in my shelf and it's the easiest thing to buy ever. Or milk. And by the way, just as a side note, don't make any more kinds of milk. We have enough milks. There's like 90 different milks in my fridge. I hate it. Soy, almond, regular milk. Let's just like pick two. Like we don't need like cashew milk or whatever it is. So that's true. I'm like, why do we have so many different kinds of milk?
Can we name that?
Whatever
the
happened,
episode? Should we name the episode?
It's like
stop
making all this different kind of milk.
Whatever happened to pink, blue, and red?
Right,
I want
exactly.
the red cap one.
Yeah, I want the
with
red
cereal.
one.
It's good with cereal. Yeah, that's exactly right.
So, my buddy from from the Chicagoland, he area is a Jewish guy, and he keeps pretty strict kosher. And so we would talk about going like pheasant hunting or like deer hunting, and growing up in that environment, there are a lot of different influences about how you prepare and make food. I was like, so could you go deer hunting or pheasant hunting or whatever the case is? And I don't know what entails like the kosher preparation of meat, but I was like, is there have to be like a holy man there or a rabbi? And I think based on the Bible, it was they had to cut the throat and like bleed it out. And I thought, well, he's like, well, it's really kind of a delicate and a humane way to treat the meat that you eat. And I thought, if you shoot a deer right, that's about as humane as it gets. Like you shoot it in the right spot, it's game over. I mean, it's not a tough death. I mean, death is death, but this is not like you go up there and they're like, they're hung, they had like a rope around their neck and a sharp knife. And I get that maybe it worked like 2,000 years ago, but now there's such a disconnect from how we get our food, how it's prepared.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I think this is probably about as nice as it gets. Like this.
What's been really cool? Sorry, we're not even talking to you and you're the guest, but
no,
This is great.
what I found was really interesting. So I have a friend of mine who raises cattle.
Oh, okay.
And so now my wife and I will buy a quarter cow or half a cow or something like that.
Yeah.
What's cool about it is now like I get to know where that meat comes from. I know how it's fed, what he's feeding it. Like not necessarily like I would get all weirded out if he, starts feeding it this versus that, but it's just really interesting to know how that process even comes. Like I text him my wife and I were having a steak dinner, and poured a glass of wine for each, she and I, and we're eating steaks. Just got them off the grill. They just look amazing. Clipped a picture. I'm like, dude, Garrett, check that out. Thanks a lot. Meat's awesome. Whatever. It's just cool to know how that all comes together. But he's like, yeah, cow 455. You don't want cow 455, but all the rest of them are fine. But that one's just a little weird.
Cow 455 is a jerk.
Yeah, it's total jerk. Like that thing is super just like stressed out. Like that meat's not going to be the best. The rest of them, like especially 360, that one's super mellow.
He's
like
super chill.
You want that one?
Do you believe in that? Because I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
I mean, you know,
There was
a-
like to hunt fish.
well, I'm saying because like you grew up doing like some of this stuff too. And there's
Yeah.
a big
Do they do that
freaking
in
deer head
Lakeville?
above the computer.
Or do you have to come all the way down to Mankato to shoot things?
Well, back in my day, Lakeville was really like the edge of the city
exactly.
civilization.
Yeah.
Like south of, literally across the street from my house was woods.
Yep.
And then now it's just houses and banks as far as the eye can see. But
So you grew up like jumping out of trees and
yeah, making forts and doing
He got sweat in his
stupid-
eye.
Yeah, but no, my stepdad grew up on spending summers on the farm and really big into
Yeah.
hunting, trapping, and a lot of that kind of stuff. I was exposed to pretty young. Got away from it once I found girls and could pick what I did with my
He
time.
became a city slicker.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is probably a good time to give a shout out to Mike Borgert, John Borgert, and Sharon Borgert. So miss
Hi,
you
guys.
guys, love you guys. I'm not as bad as you might think.
who are these people? I don't even know.
This is my family, my mom, stepdad, and my brother.
Okay. Okay. Cool. All right.
So there you go.
Yep.
Miss you guys, love you.
I had to go all over hell yesterday to find a green beer with John. But
I just
we
made
made it
one with
happen.
green food dye. Got a picture right here.
You're a thinker.
Well, so you should tell them about so the basement in the house in Lakeville. What different? I guess, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Taxidermy was
it's
down
a
there.
lovely, It's a lovely room of death, as Ace Ventura would
It's
say.
a lovely room of death.
Yeah, I went hunting one year. It's a permit thing. I think you can go every 4 years, but one of the years my stepdad got his permit, he got one, and we've got a bear rug.
Nice.
We've got a couple of 8-pointers. Actually, my stepdad got a 4-point doe.
Really?
I remember that.
So he
or
got
seeing that.
it mounted, but not the proof mounted.
Yeah.
Just the bust.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then salmon, bass, anything you can think of that you can catch for sport.
Any muskies?
No muskies. No,
All right.
never got in. But I've heard that if you're in the muskie, you're all in.
You have a sickness. It's bad. I have such an irrational spending habit for that. And now if I'm going to fish the
You can
muskie
edit that
tournaments
out for
now.
your wife, right?
Oh, she already knows.
Oh,
It's so obvious. I can't even hide it anymore. It's terrible. When she walks in the shed and there's like 4 rods there, and then the next season there's 6. She's like, "Huh, I thought there was 4 of those." I'm like, "No,
You're like, no, that's the number of kids we have, honey.
Yeah.
Yeah, 4
What
kids.
are you counting? Should I go and check your shoes?
4 kids and 7 rods.
Cool. So how did you guys meet?
Uh,
Sorry to change subjects,
No,
but
I'm not a big fan of segues either. So, it's, I think. So
you
across
moved to Lakeville when you were 16?
15.
15?
Yeah. So the woods that he was talking about eventually got developed into a bunch of houses and kind of like, suburbia. And I bought, it's so weird. So my dad, bought a house probably, I don't know, a mile away. And I went to a park because nobody, right? And my dad's a transplant and he's been all over, So I went to a park and I bumped into, some kids that were around my age, and I started hanging out with a girl, and I forget her name, but Michelle Helgeson, is that right? Mm-hmm. And started kind of hanging out with her and going over to her house, and she literally happened to live across the street from his house. And I think he used to kind of come over there and like flirt around and hang out with those girls too. And so we
Are
literally
these all the girls that you were telling me about? Like you just had a household of girls that you used to hang out with? Or
no,
is that when you
this
were
is
younger.
That was Dixon, Illinois. But
Oh, okay, that's right.
and so like I was there hanging out on the couch in their basement. It's like kind of a Rambler style house, I guess you would call it. And he came over and like knocked on the sliding glass door or something like that. But literally walked from his house across the street up the back and was like, "Hey, I just got a new cell phone." And he got this
It's a Nokia.
It was a Nokia. It was like a yellow
Yeah.
brick.
Vibrating battery.
Right.
It was
Yeah.
high tech back then.
Right. And so that was it. And then
You play Snake on that thing? You remember
Oh, yeah.
playing Snake
Oh,
on
yeah.
it? That was like the coolest
I don't know
thing
if
ever.
I don't know if
Level
that,
147.
Did you really get to 147? That's
Yeah.
amazing.
I don't know if that one had Snake or
level
not,
4.
but it was like a yellow brick phone.
Yeah.
And
You know
that's
which one I'm
it.
talking about? Like the one that was like, it was like yay big or whatever that had Snake on it. You know what
No,
I'm talking
this
about?
thing was like this big.
Oh, that was the bigger one,
yeah,
the,
it
like
was-
Gen 1 or whatever.
Yeah. And so she's like, "Oh, cool." And they're, and, you know, he was like, "Who the hell's this guy?" "Oh, this is Wade." And he
It's
was
my
like,
boyfriend.
I don't like this dude. And then that was it. And we hung out. And then school started 6 weeks later at Lakeville High School, senior high. And that was it. And I bumped into him first couple weeks of school. Like, "Hey, I know that dude." And these are the hockey guys I was telling you about in the hockey episode. So the guys I met were typically they were like the class above me because I'm a '99 grad, and he's a 2011 grad, right? Isn't that something like that, or
No.
25?
What?
Two,
Are you talking high school?
yeah, like two,
I graduated 05.
yeah, okay, 5. So
I still have to go back to high school graduation year
Right.
to figure out, like, how old are you? Oh,
Right.
5?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got it.
High school makes more sense to me.
he makes fun of me for being old, so I like to make fun of him for being really young.
He's been everywhere.
Yeah. So
We talked about that last episode.
he's a 98er. I'm a 99. You're at 05.
Yeah.
And so
So you're super old.
exact. There it is.
Jeez.
Over the fence. And so all the guys I met at Lakeville happened to be hockey players, pretty much. And I don't know shit about hockey. Clearly, if you watch the hockey episode, I'm like, I like Slapshot. And so it was Brandon Hayes, Kyle Lusk, Justin Hyatt, and maybe a few other people, but those kind of were the primaries. And that was it. And it was like 6 weeks after, give or take, 2 months after meeting at the Helgeson house. And I stopped hanging out with her, and we just started hanging out. And that was it. That was like fall of summer of 96.
Yep.
So you grew up playing hockey?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You betcha.
You betcha.
There it is.
Perfect. Love it.
My older cousins.
Would you like some goulash? Would
Tapioca pudding?
you like some pudding?
Some hot dish.
Yeah.
Yeah, my older cousins got into it, and my uncle came over one day, and I had an older brother, 3 years older than me, and got a ball and a straight blade stick. And we shot it lefty and shot it righty. And whichever one went further, that's what handed we were. I was 4, he was 7. So, yeah, I've been on skates, for a long time. I'm not even going to do the math, but
Do you play men's league?
since the pandemic, well, actually even before that, since my boys were born, I haven't played regular. Mm-hmm. But I'll sub and do some pickup stuff here and there and outdoor.
That's what's so cool about hockey is because I didn't grow up playing hockey, and like what's so cool about it is like I played football. You don't play football when you're 30 something. You know, it's just not you can't.
It's
do
hard.
It. But hockey, I mean, you can easily play a men's league. There was a guy that we played men's league with. I mean, he finally hung up the skates. He was like 72 or something.
Yeah.
and he's still out there. You know,
Well,
great
like when,
exercise.
like when the NHL had the regular All-Star celebration, I don't know what it's called exactly, but like the Legends game or, Skins, Legends, something like that. There were dudes that were out there and you're thinking, God, when did he retire? He moves pretty well. Mm-hmm. And you look up and the dude's 65, you know?
He didn't wear a helmet when he was playing.
Right. And he's like, and I'm not wearing one now, and they look really great. And it's so weird. It's, and we didn't get into this because I'm sure Coach, Freeze would be like, punch me in the face. But it seems like it's a harder sport to sustain from like the hips up because it's so hard on your shoulders and all that kind of stuff. But it seems like it's not as hard on things like hips or knees or ankles. Like I just don't recall hearing
A
people.
hockey butt.
Right.
It keeps your hips together.
Because I don't recall seeing a lot of those. Like he retired because he had his 9th knee surgery from hockey. Shoulder, yeah. Knee, no.
No, I had a hard time my senior year of football with my knees in high school, but I can skate 4 games in a row, men's league, and not have any issues.
Yeah.
So whatever that's worth.
Yeah, hopefully I'll get back into it. I'm looking into. I've got my boys out on skates a couple of times. More of me holding them up, and then they like me to pull them around in the sled. But
it's a start.
Yeah, for sure. Getting them out there. Looking forward to that, but also kind of scared of that. Where all that can go, and just the time that I know is going to have to go into it, and hopefully the help. I've been told I'm going to all the 6 a.m. practices, but hopefully I can get a couple days of sleep in there.
So I see you have a ring. Are you married?
Yep.
Yes.
Married. This summer will be the big 10-year.
No doubt.
Yeah.
What's your wife's name?
Amanda.
Amanda.
Love you, honey.
Hi, Amanda. Never met you.
Rossing.
He says great things.
Gotcha.
So
this summer will be 10 years. We had, the plan to do a European vacation, and we're, starting to plan. We didn't have to cancel anything, luckily, but we're gonna put a rain check in that. But we'll do something.
do 10 years. You've been married 12 or 14 or something?
15.
15? Yeah, because my 10-year anniversary is this summer too.
Oh, cool. What day?
Muskie opener.
Is it really? Of course it is.
Well, love you, hon. I left a card on the pillow.
Love you.
I got married the same year you graduated from high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been awesome. Couldn't be any better.
Well, that's crazy. And you guys
Thank you.
dated for quite a while before that, too.
Yeah, it's true.
You guys have been together over half your life? Is that right?
It'll be half this July. 20 years dating, engaged, married.
That's crazy.
But this is a good topic to bring up, actually, because I think that you are like 20 years of marriage or 15 years of marriage now is not like 15 years of marriage in like 1945. So like Chris Rock has this bit that he talks about, like if you're married for 15 years now or 10 years or 10 years, whatever it is, that's like being married for 50 years back then, right?
Why is that?
I know what you're doing, how you feel about things, where you've been, who you talk to all day. He like the punchline is something. It's his material, so I don't want to like rip his material. But I think the point of it was, what do you have to talk about at the end of the day? I know everything you did. I know who you talked to. I can check on Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, or whatever it is. I know what you did all day. I don't have a chance to miss you. Okay. I leave and I don't miss you because I'm with you all day.
Well, now, yeah, you have like work from home.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, now we have every meal together,
Right.
everything.
So it's like, like he says, my dad or my grandpa maybe, like he left in the morning and he was gone for like 10 hours and there were no cell phones.
Yeah.
So like if Jimmy or little Maddie broke his arm, like you found out when you got home. It wasn't like, oh my God, you have to work through a day with your kid having a broken arm or something, or going like, should I do this or that? Or like, what do you think? I think there's stuff on sale at Costco. And you're like, I don't care. Like I don't text you and I'm like, well, the fish really don't like what, I guess we're not biting on red today. What do you think? How do you feel about that? And so like 15 years of marriage can feel like 50 because it's just so much contact.
How do you feel about that?
Baby, I missed you. I haven't seen you all day. I haven't talked to you all day. Was thinking about you, wondering what you're doing. That's gone.
That does make sense.
For real.
I didn't think about it that way.
Friendships, marriages, all that stuff, all relationships, jobs too. It's like, how many emails did you go through today?
I don't know.
I'm kind of we're off of email. I'm all Teams chat now.
Okay, so how many chats? Like, how many times did you clack a keyboard? Like, how many words and all that kind of stuff? Thousands?
Yeah, at least.
Emails? Hundreds?
Yeah.
That was just today. Nobody had that much contact with people 30 years ago.
No, not even close.
No way. Like, you had a touch point with somebody today that would have been like a week or a week and a half or 2 weeks worth of work. Like today. Kids, family, all that stuff. So yeah, 15 years, it'd be 20 this July. And it's like, wow. You got to really put in the work or shut this thing off because otherwise, like nobody gets any breaks from anybody. You know, so you're 10, right?
Yep.
That blows my mind. That was a super fun wedding too. I love that wedding. It's a great wedding.
It was a good time. It was,
Where's your wife from?
Wife grew up in Hastings, Minnesota.
What's her maiden name?
Rossing.
Rossing? All right.
Rossing. Her if there's a frame shop. It's her Uncle Jim right downtown Hastings. You can see Rossing framing.
I have a few
I love Hastings.
cousins in Hastings. People from Hastings tend to be crazy. At least the people that I've met from Hastings. Is your wife like that or not?
No,
a really
of course
loaded-
not. She's
No.
level-headed at every decision and doesn't stress
She's
herself out.
super
over
duper
anything.
nice.
Yeah.
Very kind.
No,
She's probably one of the smartest people I've ever met in my entire life. And
So, some of the craziest,
Ageless.
Like this is again. I have cousins in Hastings, and maybe it's just I'm, biased because of their friends. But like growing up and stuff, like we would go to stay at their place, and the kids from Hastings were just like bonkers. Like the stuff that they did, the parties that they had when their parents were gone. Like it was nuts.
She does refer to it
Yeah.
affectionately as wastings.
everybody has some like bias against their hometown, right?
I love Hastings. Don't get me wrong. Totally awesome.
Yeah, I mean,
Any river town, really.
Yeah.
we had a boat at Kings Cove Marina in Hastings.
Yep.
And so
Who's we?
me and my dad, his third wife, and kind of his fourth wife, I guess. Kind of, I don't know. I think so, probably, yeah.
Kings
I mean,
Cove,
like
yeah.
at the end before.
Yep. I remember that side.
And then, so we were there forever. And so I used to drive through Hastings from Lakeville to go to Kings Cove Marina and then go boating on the St. Croix and like down the channel through the mud. And then go to watch the line between the St. Croix and the Mississippi.
Yep.
So I would go there all the time. And it was just kind of a pass-through town. But they had a really cool football field that was there called Todd Field. I think it was Todd Field.
Kind of lowered into the ground.
Yeah, like a bowl. And there was a tunnel. Like, I'm not sure if they still have the tunnel or not, or if it filled it in. But you could walk through the tunnel, and I think the team would come through the tunnel. It was an actual tunnel underneath the street.
That's badass. That's like NFL.
Right.
Yeah.
It was like some serious shit where you walk in like in high school, and you're like, these guys come out of a tunnel.
Isn't it the beer stube or something like
Yeah.
that? That's right
Yeah,
across the street.
absolutely, the beer stube,
been
yeah.
there. That's a good spot.
And so I had a fun time in that town.
what a great name, beer stube.
That's about as German as it gets, dude.
Perfect.
The Glarner Stube, the beer Stube. That job I had in Enterprise, I would drive from Lakeville to. Remember that?
Yeah, man, that was a rough summer for you.
Holy smokes. That was a lot of driving. Like, I would drive from Lakeville to Hastings, grab a car, and then go to, your former hometown,
Yeah,
Red Wing. That's a lot of driving.
that is.
So I got to know Hastings very well that summer. It was a long summer. But I paid off my wife's engagement ring that summer from all that driving. It was nuts. Like,
I thought you were going to get burnt out from the real world in your first summer.
oh my God, it was nuts.
Adult.
I was like working 2 jobs and all this stuff. And then I was like, this used to be a good town because I'd come here and go boating. No.
Not
Now it
anymore.
was like knuckle dragging, just like 7 o'clock in the morning, just across the chin, just trying to save this money to buy this stupid engagement ring. Or pay it off anyway because I bought it on a credit card, which apparently you can buy 2 things on credit cards. Houses and engagement rings.
We found that out in our
we
podcast.
found that out.
We've learned that.
Oh, that's hilarious. So yeah, so maybe it's your DNA with the crazy cousins.
Dude, it's some of the funnest times I've ever had.
Yeah.
Was over there in Hastings.
Yeah, I don't know.
A couple of good UMD hockey players have come out of Hastings. Michael Gergen, one of them. He played for the Bulldogs when I was up there.
Yeah, it was
So
pretty
Gergen?
Gergen, yeah.
Yep.
Michael Gergen.
from the Gurrigan.
He would have been he was probably 2 years older than I was. So he's probably an 03, maybe 02 grad from Hastings.
Remember the name.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember like where I grew up in Waukegan for most of those years. People didn't really have big parties like that. And then it was something about the East, West, and South Metro, even the North Metro, and I still consider Hastings to be like relatively part of the metro. I didn't see. Is that fair to say?
Man, my wife grew up in a farm part of the
Yeah.
town, so I love to give her crap that it's the sticks, but I think it is technically a suburb. You're right, honey.
And so, like when I came here, I'd never seen high school kids have these kinds of, not like farm parties where you go out and like, you know,
Back 40.
right, have somebody's older sibling or somebody or like a drunk uncle buy you a keg of beer and just go out to the field and whatever and have a good time. Like I'm talking kids would have like in their actual damn house,
Yeah.
like a real party, like 50 people in their house. Like I saw it on like the John Hughes movies, like in the 80s.
Yeah.
That was happening in like Lakeville and Hastings, Eden Prairie. Like, I don't know. It was nuts to me. Yeah, we're going over to, like Billy Widmer's house, or
Mollitz's after the football games was
Right.
like Friday Night Lights, for real.
for real. It was just crazy. And I'm like,
House south of town, and like the whole town from like 15, if you knew older kids and were cool,
Yeah.
to like 25,
Yep.
would go and park all along the street and all along this
Yeah.
long driveway, and they had like a pole barn and just a big old party every Friday after the games.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
and like, these dudes were, they were good dudes, play football, baseball, had like a pretty good space. I had never seen anything like that in my life, like coming to Lakeville. And then this is what people do. Apple Valley, Burnsville, saw that shit there. Egan. It was just, I don't know if they can still do that now, because this is all like pre-cell phone or like camera phones aneway.
I don't know how much you can get away with that anymore.
For sure.
Oh, dude.
I mean, even back then, there's the one kid would like to have to take the fall or be the fall guy,
Yeah.
and then have to run cross country to serve their suspension.
I remember that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
I was like, what happened? It's like, well, there's always some kid named Jake. You just like insert last name, whatever you want. Just like Jake got popped again. Why? It's his third minor.
Yeah.
So is he playing hockey? Well, he might, but he's gonna have to run cross country first. To keep me in shape anyway.
And then we go by at practice and see him in the little shorts and honking, make fun of him.
You're like, what are you doing? You're like, we're gonna go have a beer. See ya.
Yeah. That was the reason I had to wrestle.
Really?
Yeah. It's exactly the same thing.
Oh,
Yeah. I got caught. We were smoking a cigar at like one of the dances, not like at the dance, but beforehand, I don't even remember where we were. We weren't on school property or anything like that, but then someone drives by, sees us, reports us. And so I had to serve a 2-week suspension from,
that's pretty friendly.
yeah. So
I mean, now you're like banned for life.
now I had to wrestle. And at that point, the coach, Coach Urbach, was not very happy about that. But it was wrestling and I didn't really care.
It's so funny to hear all these little things come out in this podcast that because I don't
haven't
watch
thought
these
about that.
back really
Yeah,
ever.
I haven't thought about that in a really long time.
For a cigar?
Hello, Mr. Urbach. Yeah, we were smoking a cigar.
That's so lame.
We weren't even drinking at that point.
Which is so weird because, like, where I grew up, they just didn't care about that. Like, there were people like smoking on their way into school. Like, this is crazy, but there was an ashtray at the entrance of my high school, like at Waukegan High.
That's for the 18-year-olds.
Right, for everybody that used it, right? So nobody cared at all. And it was just like, put that out. And it was like, hold on, I just lit it, man. I'm going to finish this first. And so people cared so much about that here, but then there's these rager kegger parties happening, all over, the metro area. Just bizarre. You got popped for a cigar.
Cigar, yeah. That was
Damn.
probably 17 ish, give or take. 16, maybe? Something like that.
I don't know. I don't recall that you ever got a minor.
I didn't start getting myself in trouble until college.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mankato.
Yeah.
So you got minors in college?
I got 2. Both of them were within 2 months of turning 21.
Right.
I
That's
started to get a
the
little
worst.
cocky. Like, hey, they're not going to. I'm so close. They won't.
I'm ready.
Oh, yep.
I had 2, and they were back-to-back Saturdays. The beginning of sophomore year, the first and second Saturday of sophomore year. I had to call Kathy Brozick the second Saturday. Mom, this is now Sunday morning. Yeah. You know what happened last week? Yeah, it happened again. That was awesome.
You couldn't try to. My
Oh my
17,
gosh.
20-year-old would have said, Hey, no, they just misfiled. They filed it twice. It's the same one.
Oh, there would have been so much coverage. Were you there? I don't even know him. I don't know. I'm not sure where he was.
I had to go in front of a judge and like tell him I would never do it again. And so
After the first one or the second one?
the second one,
Okay.
they're like, this guy's a problem. So I had to go and my mom had to drive up. Like I had to get some nice clothes to make sure that, I looked presentable. My hair was like super long and just looked like
You're totally incentivizing you to do this again. Like, this suit is sweet. I'm going to be back.
Your mom had to bring you a shirt that was ironed?
Yes, yeah, because she knew it would
Iron
yeah.
Maiden.
Oh, so then I had to stand in front of the judge and like walk up to the microphone. They're like, Matthew Bradley Brozick, and I'm like, okay, I walk up, and then my dad's name is Brad, so I have his middle name, or my middle name is my dad's name. So the judge goes, please state your name, and I'm like away from the microphone. I'm like, Matthew Bradley Brozick. He's like, no, you need to talk into the microphone, and I'm like, Matthew Bradley Brozick. I can just like my mom is just like, oh my gosh. And my dad is just, I know for a fact, like he was just, why did I give my son a middle name that is the same as mine? What is going on? And it was so funny. Were you drinking alcohol as of this date? Yes, Your Honor.
I don't know.
Will you do that again? No, Your Honor. Okay, well, don't do that anymore and you're free to go. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
And
I had my fingers crossed. I'm out. I'll be back.
yeah, that was really funny. That was Kathy came up, my mom, because she was a little worried at that point. But then we were straight on the straight and narrow after that.
Some parents take that stuff hard, and then some don't. And I think there was just so many bad things happening like around the spot where I grew up that if something like that happened, it was like, oh God, that's good. I'm just glad it wasn't armed robbery. So you did what? I was like, I had a Miller Genuine Draft. It's like, well, you could drink better beer. And I was like, well, that's what was there. And no violence and no violence. It's like, oh, that's okay.
Drugs? No? Okay.
Nope, no drugs.
You're
You're like,
fine.
oh well. In that case, come sit down. Let's have a beer. But here is like, it's such a hypocritical thing because if you're at a certain age and you're going camping or you're going fishing with your family members or friends, nobody has a beer when they're a junior or senior in high school.
Yeah.
Like,
Well-
it's like the scene in like National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation or maybe like the Family Vacation one where Russ just like like him and they share a beer, him and Clark. Russ is just hitting it, He's like, what the hell? Like that happens all the time. But it's like when it happens and where, man, huge impact.
Yeah, that was a funny time. You learn, just
I
be
always got
smarter.
lucky. Yeah, so the connection to Mankato,
You went to school here, right?
yeah.
Yeah, for the better part of the 2000s.
So you're a doctor?
Well, it was a great time because that's when Van Wilder had come out.
Oh yeah.
So very much so. Some of our later house parties, like because all of us were bartenders, every once in a while we'd still have a house party down here on Byron.
Where'd you bartend?
Started as a door guy up at Hooligans, and this is it's not just a bar in a mall. This is back when it was like
A club.
it was the club on Wednesday nights, and it was the hockey bar, and we had like $5 cup specials we could do
Yeah.
back then. We'd number them the night before.
So like what year is this, like 02?
I
01?
transferred down here in 2000, and ironically enough, I met the liquor store owner. Was High Spirits used to be right on campus here.
Yeah.
I was getting kegs for my roommates. Would have been sophomore year, because I was the only one that was 21. And a little side note, we went through 12 kegs in the first 2 weeks of that year, one for every weekday that the liquor store was open. We had a kegerator.
That helps keep it cold and get it out of the keg.
So I'm going there to get these kegs, and I'm lifting them up myself, bringing them back the next day. And the liquor store owner, I finally asked him, like, hey, you ever need help around here? He's like, oh, not really here, but I could use some help over at the bar I own too. So met Tim Johnson that way.
Yeah.
Started
Oh, yeah.
started at
Yeah,
the
yeah.
door, and I by no means was a bouncer physique, but I guess you don't really need to when there's other big dudes. But
You could hip check them.
yeah, there you go. Just get them on skates.
You got good reach.
There's kind of a changing of the guards, like the guys graduating, so I
Yeah.
got to move up to bartender pretty quick. Was there about 3 years. Little bit of politics. They were kind of trying to turn things over too, so I wasn't getting like the money night. So I went over to what was Bandana Brewery.
Oh, yeah.
You remember that?
Where was that?
So Bandana Brewery is now, which is one of my favorite things. It's Elevate Church on Victory.
It was a Moose Lodge before it was a
So the
brewery.
Moose Lodge became Bandana Brewery.
Yes.
And
now I
it's a
remember.
church. It was a house of sin, and now it's a
Very
house
much
of
so.
now it's a house of the Lord. So I love that just the place and the time can change
right.
how you want it to.
Totally forgot about that place. But yeah, you're all right.
Yeah.
I came to that, so I would go to Hooligans, and then Bandana, which is actually what they did there was
It was
Was-
like 10
was
years
ahead of its time. Exactly.
If they did that 10 years later, like 10 years ago, it would be a cash cow.
And what's crazy is the parking at that place is great. Like it's perfect. Like the location's good, and it's just like I came down not knowing what to expect when you had switched from Hooligans to Bandana Brewery, and there was like a full live band playing on a stage, that they had set up, and it was it was actually a pretty big place.
Yeah.
And I thought, this is really cool. And then I don't know if it was ownership or whatever happened, they just didn't have the crowd.
Very, very much ownership. I went over there because they had like a dozen pull tab boxes, and
Yeah.
bartenders would sell them. So we'd get the tips when people
Yep.
would hit. So we could
Yep.
not text our friends. I don't think everybody had cell phones, but we could call our friends' landlines and tell them, there's a hot box. Come on down right away tomorrow morning.
For like many different reasons. But there's and we should probably hit the pause button there and just, when I think of like pull tabs, we should give a shout out to Amanda. Your wife is probably, I want to say, like prolific.
She's a connoisseur.
She's she's an excellent pull tabs consumer, a player. I don't know if
She supports little leagues all over the metro.
yeah.
Yeah.
Except usually I'm like, I think she's winning though.
She,
I mean, it's like this is some serious stuff. She kills it. This is not like a joke or like pandering. It is a legit thing that happens, and I've seen it. I've witnessed it in multiple places around the state. It's a real deal, and there must be times it happens. I mean,
oh yeah, she's got a good eye. We usually send her up to pick the box which one we're gonna go in for sure.
and she wins. Like I've seen her win hundreds and hundreds of dollars from pull tabs. All over the place.
Funny story about that. So we had a unfortunate scenario, but one of my friends, their mother unfortunately passed away. So we're Sprague and I and our wives, my best friend, we're going up to go to the funeral, and we're on our way back, and we're like, God, let's just stop and have a beer and a burger or whatever. And so my wife is like, let's do some pull tabs. And I'm like, she's never said this before. I've known her for now, what, 12, 13 years. Like I never heard her say that before. And I'm like, why would you do that? She's like, yeah, just like, do you have some cash? Like, I just really feel like we should. I'm like, okay.
Just impulse pull tab
Super
player.
impulse. So she just walks up like brand new, and the bartender's like, so did I just hear you've never done pull tabs? And she's like, I don't think I ever have. Like, I don't, just, it sounds like fun, There's like one person in the bar, And so he's like, well, you probably have some pretty good luck, because usually the first time is when you hit it. And so she's like, okay, I'll do those, whatever. So she brings them over, and like, sure enough, I think we won $350 off of $40.
Which to me is funny because I can picture, his wife saying this stuff, and I can see she's just really, really pretty, petite, short.
She had heels on at
Chick
that
from
point,
Iowa,
and dress,
right?
and she's,
She probably just
running
walked up there, nurse, just kind of, like a peppy ass kicker type. Yeah, I'll do it. Let's do it. Just, she's got to be like 5'4", maybe.
oh, she's 5'2".
Yeah, like with heels.
Yeah.
And he's like, great. She's gonna clean me out.
Yeah, I'm thinking she's gonna keep like just pouring
Right.
20s into this thing.
It's like, no, I'm good, thank you. I'll just take my money now. But your wife's done this. If you had to guess how many times Amanda has just killed the box. I don't know, 100 times, 50 times.
It's so hard to say. I'd say we've won and been up from a sitting at least 100 times.
100 times. Everywhere we go, it's like, oh, you want to go? It's like, I think they have good pull tabs there. Let's go there.
That's definitely in the top 5
Right.
criteria for where we're looking to go.
Do they have pull tabs? I don't know.
But it was so funny because she's like, "Is this good?" You know, the bartender's like, "Yeah, yeah, that's like, you crushed that one."
So you see this number here?
And
I have to pay you that now.
so
Cool.
Well, this game is
she
fun.
pays it out
Exactly.
And he finally was just like, she's running around whatever, and Sprague goes, "You're supposed to like tip the bartender." And I'm like, I'm oblivious. Like, I'm the worst gambler ever, so I just don't do anything. And I'm just
I am too. I suck at it.
really? Like, oh, I didn't even know that. So I walked up and I talked to him. I'm like, "Dude, I'm super sorry." And he goes, "Oh, it's fine. Like, you guys are obviously super noobs. You have no idea what you're doing."
He's like, you didn't kick me a 20 spot. You just got one $350.
Yeah. So then we cut him in, and he was cool with that. But yeah, I just was like, had no idea.
That's a cultural thing, man.
We should try that. Try that play. We'd make like 10% more on all of our winnings. We're just like, okay, who's never played before today? Yeah, I've never played this time. Okay.
Okay.
I've never played this time.
Looks fun.
Oh my gosh, what do I do? Tear one
Except
in half.
Amanda's.
Yeah. Right down the middle.
I don't know. No, you know.
You really got to sell it,
Yeah.
Except your wife is on like a small circulated quiet poster of like 10 pull tab players to look out for. It's like, if she comes in,
Vegas.
Yeah.
just tell her it's
Most wanted.
we're closed. We're closed if
counting
Rossing
cards
walks
again.
in. She walks in, it's like,
Kicks the door open. Just
I'm
for
here.
silhouette.
I love Little League baseball. Yeah, I'm going to do it. So
It's for the kids.
for the kids. So Bandana Brewery, and then, God, was it?
Yeah, you had mentioned
was next?
ownership there. It just wasn't a good spot.
That's
And,
hard, man.
Yeah, wanted to get out of there, and I knew I was, my time, unfortunately, in school in Mankato was winding down. So I always wanted to get to one of the bars downtown. I still know the owner of South Street, good buddy, probably knew me too well.
Oh, Devin?
Yeah, so
yeah.
he said, "Nope, I won't hire you. I know you too well."
Yeah.
Won't go too much into that, but
No, that makes sense to me.
But no, I moved over to the Hayes. What is it, Red Rocks now?
I don't remember, but it was the Hayes.
That was the new club. Like, you didn't go there until 11.
It was cool. I mean, God, so I think that was before graduation.
Yeah.
You were there, I don't know how long, a year or something like that.
Yeah, it was my last year down there, and it was time. It was time to get out of school. Love Mankato, but my perspective was as a student,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same. It's weird to to go back to school or like to the town you went to school in, and then being an adult or whatever, because you're like, oh, this is a regular nice place.
Yeah.
It's not just like people being ridiculous, and you're totally oblivious to the rest of the world in your own little college. Like I said, it's like college is like a retirement home for young people.
Yeah.
It really is.
A
It's like,
cesspool.
like all the food is there. There's people to help you. You all live in the similar area. It's just like a nursing home for young people.
Then every once in a while you go like off the reservation to
Right.
go give blood or to
Right.
give plasma. That's what we did. Did you guys ever do that? Do you have plasma at all?
I did.
It's like a part-time job. It was amazing.
For sure.
Yeah, I gave plasma in college a couple times, but I knew dudes that would do it like religiously. I only did it a couple of times because it was
We would go. I
like
think
blood drive.
was it you could go like twice a week or once a week or something like that, whatever it was. But we would like max that out. We were just like just giving it all up. It just
Right.
doesn't, yeah.
And you get as much as you can,
Yeah.
and then you're like,
We'd
all
have
right,
like
well,
races.
you you see somebody come in with the the cotton swab or whatever on there and the tape, and
Yep.
they're like, "Hey, can I get a cup?" And I'm like, you're really not supposed to
Do you want some juice and cookies
be
first?
drinking beer. Like, when'd you give plasma? Like
An hour ago.
an hour ago. Right.
So I only need 2 beers tonight.
Right, and I was like, no, I don't think so, man. Oh, come on, man. I was like, no. This is really awful for your body. Okay, just please don't do this. No, I'm good. And I was like, well, all right. I mean, it's your call, brother.
Just so happens that on the way back from the plasma place in Duluth is the Shanty liquor store called literally the
Shanty
Shanty
liquor store.
And they had our supply of Dirty 30s of hams.
Yeah.
That was pretty good. Land of the Sky Blue Waters.
I like hams, so it's good.
Yeah, I had my core group of girlfriends like lived, down the hall or whatever. That was their job because they didn't have jobs down there, so they would give plasma for probably a couple years. Colleen and Jess and Anya.
You get like $50 ish.
Something, yeah, like 50 for your first time and 100 for your second.
It was
I think
something
what
like
theirs
that. Yeah. But it was literally a college part-time job.
Especially when you could get $5 cups like at a different bar every night of the week if you wanted to.
Duluth, there was, I gotta remember which bar now, but downtown, what was it called? Underground. Right. I don't know if you're a fan of Bell's Two Hearted.
Oh, yeah.
They had Bell's Two Hearted. You get a full pitcher for $5. It was the greatest time of my life. We would go there just for that. Mike, who owned it, so he's not listening, but hey, Mike, awesome guy. But he would give us $5 pitchers of Bell's Two Hearted. That was like that and a dance floor. I'm good.
And that's still one of the best beers in the country
of all time.
What's funny about that is
Comstock, Michigan.
Yeah, and I still want to go to Bell's.
Yeah, you haven't been there?
I've not been there. I still want to go.
We found a place in the United States you haven't been.
And so there's like a home brewers festival thing they would do. I always wanted to drive there and go to that.
That'd be cool.
Like submit a beer for fun and just hang out. But it's there was not craft beer. So like we're the same vintage pretty much. Like that wasn't a thing. Like the craft beer thing. So by the time you went to school a couple years later, it was becoming more prevalent because I remember the only craft beers at the time
Summit
was Summit if you were in Minnesota.
Surly was after that.
Surly was way after that. It was Spotted Cow, like maybe Capital Brewing in Madison. Newcastle was a craft beer. Bell's was it just wasn't really on the radar. But then like a few years later, it just like a switch got flipped.
Yep.
And it was just like this huge, like massive influx of all these great beers. Sierra Nevada was in there too, actually.
Sierra Nevada, there was it something pale ale. I don't even remember what is it called. It's got the green label.
Yeah, the Sierra Nevada Pale Ale is still, in my opinion, the best pale ale in the country.
It's one of for sure.
That was there.
Yeah.
And then some Pilsners but it was pretty limited.
Yeah.
There was no like Todd the Axeman and all this crazy shit.
No.
It was like the craft beer section was like this big.
not cooler.
Right. It was like that. That's it.
Yep. And now it's a whole section.
Yeah. Now it's huge. And otherwise it's like packed to the gills, 30 packs of Coors hams.
Yeah.
Like Schlitz
Miller
or
High
Schmitz
Life.
or something like
Tall
that. Right?
boys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just like all.
Yeah, dude.
Really, pretty much. Yeah.
Like I remember though, like beer was a currency back then.
Oh, for sure.
Like, would you help me move out? No. I'll give you a case of beer. Okay.
What time?
Yeah. When should I be there? Because I don't get up till like at least 11, so it's got to be like noon or later.
Yeah, it's
Actually, I was an early riser, so but
it's like I
it was a
don't
currency.
believe that for you. I'm sure you got up at
it was a currency.
You slept in, and then you got up at 7.
My dorm roommate and I would split a 12-pack of something high alcohol content in the dorms, and every once in a while he'd just be in a goofy mood, so he would give somebody as many of them as they would continue to pound in a row. Like, can I have a beer? Sure, but you got to pound it. And then they would, a couple people would do 3-4 in a row. I'm like, okay.
Which is awful when you're drinking like drinking Ice House or Rolling Rock or something like that.
Natty Ice.
Natty Ice.
You're drinking,
dude, natural
something
light.
ice.
Natty Ice, Natural Light, dude. Those
it was
were
currency
amazing.
though, for sure.
They were currency. That I think that was so funny because that's literally what it was. It's like, would you help me? Me being like a larger person, I would often get helped or asked to help to like move somebody out. I remember Brandon, who we called Mole Man.
Because of
not
The
you,
Simpsons?
Brandon, but like
Hans Molman.
yes,
Hans
no,
Molman, the former mayor of Springfield.
he and his girlfriend lived in the basement. We called him Mole Man and Mole Maid. And he needed to get moved out, so he called me, and he's like, "Bro's like, I'll get you a case of Coors Light." And at that point, I'm like, "Dude, that's the gold." So
You're like, oh my God.
he really needs
Are you
help.
kidding me? He must really need this.
So yeah, I hung up. I'm like, "Dude, Mole Man needs our help. McDonough, we gotta go."
Yeah, I miss those simpler times. And so I guess I want to confess right now, that Hayes sent in this really great list of stuff like that we could talk about.
We haven't hit any of it.
I'm thrilled that we're not, because like just having this conversation and talking, and kind of being silly and stupid
we would
about
have had
stuff.
anyway, right?
Conversations about
This
him.
is a real
If we would have met sitting at
Right.
whatever, having a beer somewhere, this is the conversation we'd had.
And so it feels good because I don't do this, but pretty much here, like because I don't go out or do anything because of the the pandemic and all that stuff. So this is just nice to just chill and reminisce and talk about when things were normal or whatever the hell that means. So my question is, we talk about like Lisa going in and getting pull tabs, right? And you worked at Hooligans and Banana Brewery and the Hayes, and then we should talk about the Northy Bar too, which was a great place. But how will you feel when you walk back into a super crowded bar or restaurant after this shit's over? Have you thought about how you'll feel about it?
Dude, you watch TV. Should let you answer because you're the guest. But you watch TV of like people, a big gathering of people. Like you watch a show from 10 years ago.
Oh, that's weird.
Like I turned on was in the ice house, turned on the TV, and Friends was on, and they're like in a like in the coffee house. There's people all over the place, and I'm just like, oh, wow.
They're in the perk, huh?
They're at the park. No one has a mask on. They're all over each other. It's like, but that looks weird now, and it's not.
It's not weird.
It's not weird, but it wasn't for long. But it was just like a split second. Like, oh wow, whoa, okay, yeah, that's right. That's from '97. Like, it's not an issue. Do you think so?
Yeah, absolutely. It's to your point, we don't know what normal really is or was. It's just something everyone's going to adjust to. But yeah, looking back, it's definitely weird. And even watching shows that are airing now, like, okay, how are they addressing it? Or was it filmed before it started? You can kind of like date things based on when it's
by like a
released.
shield or whatever, a mask being on. It's just weird, I think, because it was so normal. Like as we're telling kind of trading trading paint on our college experiences and like 20s. I keep thinking these stories involve a crap ton of people. Mm-hmm. Like you're in a house with 10 other people, or you're in a fraternity like I was with 50 people. You have 300 people in your house. And like, I think about that now, and it kind of freaks me out a little bit. And 13 months ago, I wouldn't have given a shit at all. I wouldn't have cared. Like, I would have gone out for St. Patrick's Day yesterday with my wife. We would have had corned beef and cabbage somewhere and potatoes, like we always do, and like kind of bounced around a little bit, or took the kids out for dinner or something, because we always do something. And like the thought of doing that now, I'm like, I would never do that. That's craziness. I'm not going to do that. I'll make my own cabbage and beef. So, but it wasn't that long ago. Going out to restaurants is the same thing. Like, you work remotely 100%, right?
You didn't prior though?
No.
No, I was as close to the opposite of working remotely as I can think of.
Like presenting to people live,
in
right?
classrooms. We'd fly people in from all over the country for our onboarding programs. 100 people in one room. I'm got a lapel mic and doing the thing. Like very interactive. To complete opposite.
Wow. So
Yeah.
do you miss that interaction?
Absolutely. In our company, and not in a bad way, but we're very much the kind of company that was, no, we're never going to be remote. The secret sauce is in the office. We got to be there and rubbing elbows and, the energy. But
I get that.
100%. But for the switch that we had to turn, because we were a very big part, and we hear stories about it internally all the time,
Yeah.
of how instrumental we were to keeping the economy going
Yeah.
in the worst of it.
Yep.
And everybody, like our IT group, is amazing for what they were able to do with VPN, and just like we went, I think 98% remote within
Yeah.
like 2 weeks.
I
Unbelievable.
remember hearing that, and that blew my effing mind. I swear, it just blew my mind.
We've got 15,000
It's a
people around the
huge,
world.
it's a big
That's
workforce.
incredible.
Like, that's a big number,
Yeah.
and not just in one location.
Wow.
Like, you're talking, like, everywhere.
In different, we've got offices in China that were
Yep.
earlier, and then I was actually in Amsterdam when the first cases were
Yeah.
starting to pop up in Italy.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there training a guy that lives, his hometown is where the first case was reported there.
Yeah.
Ironically, we were in Chicago when the first case in Chicago was announced
Us?
too. I'm pretty sure I'm not patient zero. Pretty sure.
But I think, were we there for your 40th birthday?
In Chicago?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, when that was announced?
Yeah.
Yeah. So which is a good story. Pretty much a year ago, 13 months, like almost on the head.
Oh.
We went, like, surprised him at the Minneapolis airport, and we took like a 3-4 day trip to Chicago, and just like got after it. Just had a good time. It was like LFG all weekend. I mean, we hit up all the great spots, great food, comedy. Went to Second City.
It was just great. It was like all of my best friends like made the sacrifices they needed to come there. It was awesome. I couldn't imagine a better 40th.
But what's funny, it was awesome. Callie and I arrived, and we brought masks. Do you remember this?
I think I laughed just like I did right
exactly.
then.
You laughed, and I was like, because like, your wife's a nurse, my wife's a nurse. That like that comes up all the time.
Yep.
But they get the information and they take it and put it into action. Mm-hmm. Like, no, this is like, we got some reports. This is not like this is a serious deal. And so my wife said, I'm going to bring an extra mask for Brandon because he's not going to have one, and he didn't. And so there's a picture of us, like, I don't know, 8 o'clock in the morning or something, with like masks on, like, and it's like February 9th or something,
Wow.
or like January 30th, I think. And then 6 weeks later, the shit hit the fan. So wasn't that long ago.
No.
So I'm like, man, like, how am I going to feel about it? Like, I'm interested to hear, you go back to work. Are you ever going to do a full schedule out in?
I have to.
Yeah.
Like, I miss
But for
the
what reason?
interaction.
Yeah.
Because I have to.
Yeah.
Like, for some reason, God gave me a gift to connect with people and help explain things and teach them in a way that they can understand.
100%.
And to do that effectively, and like the interpersonal communication and understanding, like, you can see when their light bulb turns on, when they don't understand
Yeah.
things, even if they're not physically trying to make any, change their face. You can just tell when you've done enough of these meetings or you're presenting to a group. You can tell when they're tracking with you, or you need to stop, or you need to tell a joke, or you need to like speed up. Like, you can tell that stuff because you're reading everything. I have to do that again because that is my absolute most favorite thing that I do.
Yeah.
Is whether it's 2 people or it's 200 people, getting up and talking about something that I know well and can teach well is one of my favorite things on the planet.
Yeah.
So I have to do that. How fast and when's that going to happen? I don't know,
I don't know.
but it has to.
Completely agree, and that's ultimately where I want to be back to too. That'd be my normal, is being able to have that interaction. With going to the fully remote, so I was among the unfortunate. I was furloughed for 90 days, and there was, I think they ended up saying it was 8% of our North American workforce was furloughed,
Yeah.
and about half of them were terminated permanently. I was fortunate enough to be brought back, which was humbling to know that they, saw value in me. But coming back, it was a whole new world. We had it was like 0 to 60, taking all of that, virtualizing it for our onboarding, that we support the business. We put a pin in or a pause on pretty much everything else until we got that figured out.
Yeah.
But how we were able to virtualize and think through some of that stuff, I'm so impressed with my team and our organization for what they'd done.
Yeah.
But coming back, I
don't know.
I had survivor's guilt of like good friends that didn't get brought back.
Oh, my wife had the same thing, because mean, I think Lisa's per diem, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you got furloughed, Amanda got furloughed, Kelly got furloughed. And so, like, think about just the people that are here, just the 6, like the 3 couples or the 6 people. That's a pretty big number. And I think it matches the national number, give or take.
Yeah.
And, and my wife was brought back, but people weren't, or there was, just different versions of retirement or leaving. Like, we'll offer you severance or early retirement to try to reduce, like our workforce to save money. And so she felt the same way.
Yeah.
Like, I got brought back and I'm happy that, and I'm thankful, and grateful for that too. But not everybody did, and I was thankfully, I was not furloughed or laid off or fired or terminated. Yet. That's coming.
This episode might be the end.
This has actually been one of the
something you
cleanest,
say.
friendliest episodes we've ever done.
This is probably one of the nicest episodes.
Seriously.
We've done. Yes. We haven't said almost anything offensive. Maybe
No.
shooting the deer and the ducks and the geese and the
If that
bear.
offends somebody, they're not watching this.
No,
Oh,
probably not watching
like that.
So Minnesota podcast is like, no.
Like, what is that? Soma? Is this a Soma?
So what?
Yeah. So
Well, yeah, going back, so besides the survivor's guilt, just had anxiety. Like, I knew it was going to be a completely different job.
Yeah.
Am I even going to like it?
Yeah.
The fix that I get from working with people and helping people, am I
Yeah.
going to get that? What I've seen, fast forward, is I adapted a lot better than I thought I would. I
Yeah.
do still get the fix when people have video, because you can see that, the little inquisitive look, like, okay, what questions are out there?
Yeah.
Knowing you're asking that person, but you throw it out
Yeah.
to the group.
Yep.
that video helps a ton.
Yeah.
But do you find that to be more exhausting because you have to really track and watch? There's no, I don't know what you want to call it, the sixth sense or like your intuition in the room to read a room.
Yeah.
Yep.
Video doesn't give you all of that.
Right.
So do you find if you have to Zoom meeting or Teams or whatever you're using, do you find that to be more tiresome than if you had to teach a 60-minute class in person?
So again, part of the genius in most of our programs is that we know they're going to get screen fatigue. So
Yep.
we
Yep.
schedule frequent breaks and different activities where they break out and they're not just listening to us blab the whole time.
Yeah.
They do some self-paced work, that kind of thing. But yeah, 100%. If I'm back in the old world, when I'd facilitate a full day class, I'm there from like 7 to 5:30.
Yep.
Now I'm on screen maybe like 4 hours of an 8-hour day with different stuff, but it is just as tiring. to
Yeah,
your
it's
point.
weird. Which
It's the mental energy,
You're like-
Yes. Yep. It is. It's difficult.
you're like, I don't want to look. I don't.
The hardest part that I find though is like one of the funnest parts about presenting to me is the use of silence.
Yes.
And when like if you can master the use of silence, your presenting level goes like way through the roof, because you can utilize attention spans and everything so much better. The video stuff, you really can't do that because because people are like,
Why aren't
did
you
his connection
talking?"
die? Like, wait,
Did you freeze?
He hasn't moved. Did he freeze? Are we still on? Wait, where? Hey, honey, can you turn off your wireless up there? We're a little slow down here.
Reset the router.
Oh, he was just. Okay, wait, he's back. What was he talking about again? You know what I mean? Like that part.
That's huge.
Has been really fun, and I had a mentor that taught me about that. And he's like, no, the next person who talks loses. Like, like that type of thing. Where,
He who speaks first loses, which is some kind of like some gangster Gordon Gekko type stuff. but the use of silence is really important.
Yeah, but like if you like what I think you like, which is presenting and talking to people and teaching people, like it's those little intricacies that are like the game inside your head. Because you're talking about the same stuff, you know what I mean? So now you're playing these little games of like, I'm going to think 3 sentences ahead of where I'm actually at because I'm going to get you when I call on you. You don't know it yet, but you're going to get called on and you're already going to know the answer because I'm going to give it to you and you're going to remember it and I'm going to keep your attention. And like, those are the little games you play in your head and it's so much fun.
Absolutely. We
For people that don't present or hate presenting, they're like, this guy's insane. What are you talking about?
games in your head? What?
You're playing games?
Don't be a don'ter. What? No, but like your comments, both of your comments, it made me think of the large organization, big scale of having a huge workforce or a big IT, team behind you to really mobilize and scale, right? So if you have 60 days to do that, you need boots on the ground versus you run a pretty lean and mean shop. So there couldn't be more opposite stuff. And I'm kind of,
Yep.
I'm not enterprise level at all. We have, less than 100 employees. So it's not even comparable to where you can actually go, hey, we need to get this done. And you can call in forces to do it. I think, like,
And I'm like Googling,
seriously,
like, what's
right.
this mean?
Right, you're like, how does I want to zoom,
Yeah,
and
what
you're
is
boom,
this?
boom, boom.
What's Zoom?
Just
You know.
shake your rump.
All right, guys. And so, I think that's what we're going to see moving forward. Do you guys think that we'll see that those kind of different ends of the spectrum continue to be more entrenched? Huge places, and then tiny places, and then there's some mixing of those two places, because there's stuff that they need you to do because of your mobility, and then there's stuff that you need to do because you have scale and a force. Mm-hmm. You guys think that's the future?
I think what's more of the future is like if I need IT, it's like on demand
Like gig work.
gig work.
Okay.
Like I needed stuff done for some of the videos that we do, and like the like some of the marketing video stuff that I can edit the video that I make with my camera, but I can't make the intros and outros. Like the cool looking ones.
Yeah.
And so for $5 on Fiverr, they gave me 3 of them. For
See, to me, that's
$7, they gave
crazy.
me 6 of them. And all I do is I send in name, email, and I give them the logo, and they send it back within 48 hours.
Yeah.
And it was like done and perfect for $7.
Did they do the Somin intro?
Nope, Tony did
No,
that.
That's
that
pretty
was
cool.
That's more expensive.
Yeah, that was more expensive than $6. But
from my perspective, like I would need a team of people to know all that stuff to do it. And if Tony had to do that, like that would cost me a hell of a lot more than it did
Yeah.
on Fiverr. Or like you talk about like Cameo as an example. We were talking about that. We're gonna get.
which I really want to do Cameo.
We're gonna do that. I was checking that out today. We're gonna get like
Who was the guy that played Shooter McGavin? It's like Peter McDonough or McConnell or something like that.
We're
It's
gonna
like
get Shooter McDonough or Shooter McDonough.
Yeah,
Shooter
it's Shooter
McGavin.
McGavin. But like whatever that guy's name is, I forget
Red
it. But
jacket,
it's something
green
Irish
jacket.
or green jacket. Who gives a it's like an Irish or Scottish name.
Yeah. But like you look at that to me, I think is for the smaller business like I run. I think you can run very lean on that for $7 to get 6 outros, and they're just shipped to you and they're good to go. I mean, that's pretty amazing. You're bringing up.
I have to look up Shooter McGavin. Sorry, I was like,
In our organization, we've got people like the Cameo and some of that stuff I've heard from some of my colleagues that do that for our videos. So like our CEO has been really full frontal with the social unrest and pandemic and all of the things going on. So people I work with and I know are like filming these videos for them. It's been pretty cool to see what they can do.
Christopher McDonald.
Christopher McDonald. There you go. It's all about the short game.
Yeah, dude. That's
But no,
gonna be-
so it's funny to hear the perspective because I think you're pretty deeply entrenched in a larger enterprise, global corporate culture, and you're lean and mean entrepreneur, like figuring out how to get like all this stuff done.
Yep.
Kind of more like bootstrapping.
trying to operate like the big boys on a cheap
Right.
budget.
Right. You're like a ball
Cheaper
around
budget.
like ball around a budget kind of thing. But do you have that perspective still, or you just like lost forest for the trees because you like, I need this from IT now, damn it, and you like send your email off like IT group, and they're like, we received your work order, sir.
So I'm a people person, damn it. With IT and different things, I find an individual. Just like in high school, you get to meet the maintenance lady, so she lets you in the back door when you don't have an open campus.
Perfect.
I've got my service desk guy that I go to for something as stupid as I can't figure out my calendar on my iPhone because I don't use it ever.
Yeah. And then they like you kind of you like I have that with some of the back office people that I have, and it's the best because then once you get to know them and they know you're not just like a call-in number or whatever, you can get so much more done because it's like it's whoever it is, Betty, I am so sorry. Like, I'm a moron when it comes to this, and I am so sorry.
Self-deprecating always gets
should
them to
I?
laugh.
No, but you're telling the truth.
Maybe
Though. It's
I'll,
like just being honest.
man, why don't I just send it for you, and then it'll just be all taken care of. I'm like, oh my gosh, Betty, thank you so
I
much.
love
You
you.
are
You're
the
the
greatest.
best.
Like, I hope that, please, just, I thank you so much for your time.
Yeah,
and she's like, oh, it's okay. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna go, and then I'll call you in 5 minutes when I create another problem. Like, okay, we'll call you. But dude, that's the people person thing.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's really important to have that. You have some value somewhere in the chain, right? So IT people or versus whatever. I'm really curious to see how it turns out the next 5 or 10 years, because a bunch of people, a huge portion of the workforce is just not going to go back to the office.
Yep.
I don't know if we talked about the Target thing shrinking last week or not. I don't remember, but they're shrinking their headquarters by like, I don't know, a third or something. And it's the biggest employer downtown easily. It's like 6,000, 7,000 people, something like that. They just know they're not going to come back, or that they need to, because they figured out how to scale it. It seemed like it's going to be a trickle down effect. Like it's going to start going from bigger places to smaller places to smaller places, and where we're just going to gig shop for services. And I think your place will go there too. I mean, I maybe it's trickle up or whatever you want to call it, but I think it will go there, even at a grander scale, where temporary workforce, project-based workforces are like it seems like it's going to be the future. Like if you want to go hire somebody, like a team,
Contract work.
like your Betty, like is going to be, your Betty or your Johnny or whatever it is going to be, you could hire a team to do a whole project and then come back 6 months later and hire the same team. And I think we're going to get really nimble and good at doing that.
I've seen that. I was talking to this guy today, and he's a contractor. And so he's like, dude, we are so overwhelmed.
Right.
Like it's unbelievable. We're so overwhelmed. And he goes, but the biggest problem that we have is like the customer service side of stuff,
It's tough. Yeah.
Because he was pounding the nails and pouring the concrete and all that stuff, and he decided to start a business. But he's not really good at is keeping schedules and maintaining all of that. And so he's like, all I need is like a company that just does that
That
for
just
contractors.
administrates stuff.
They just do administration. Like that's all I need to find, and I can't. I don't even have that time to find it. But if I could find them, like we would crush it unbelievably, because we would be all over it.
Yeah.
But right now, I'm really good at the job when I'm on the site. I'm very bad at the logistics of getting everything to administrate.
I think that's a prerequisite to be a contractor.
For sure.
You have to be terrible at managing your calendar.
And managing your administration. Exactly.
I say that out of a place of self-deprecating humor, because I was a contractor, and
I know.
it's tough. One of our good friends is a contractor,
It's hard, man.
and when something goes wrong, there's the trickle down of schedule, but it's just the communication.
Yeah.
Well, there's so much over communication now, and I hope we get to scale that back.
Are you getting back to the phones?
Right. Or just this it's like, where are you? I'm in the parking lot. It's like, where are you now? It's like, I'm outside the door. It's like, all right, knock 3 times. And it's like, knock, knock, knock. You're like,
Was
all
that
right.
you?
Right. Like,
Was that
right.
yeah.
Was that you?
Was that you?
No, actually, I was at the wrong door. Oh, it's the blue one. Like, go to the blue door. So that just bogs stuff down, which makes administrating things hard. Mm-hmm. And as much as I want to be a good administrator, I have to work at it really hard, because I don't like it. And I think it's really annoying and frustrating.
That's what I have Sarah for.
Oh, it's just tough. And
I
it's,
just decided I'm bad at it, and I gotta hire it.
yeah, it's really hard to do. I guess we'll find out soon, but Tim Ferriss first turned, and I think I first heard it there, or he turned me on to, he just got like a virtual person to work with that I think was based.
Who's Tim Ferriss?
So, Columbia grad, entrepreneur, podcaster, author.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard of him.
Tim Ferriss writes books. Probably, I don't know. He's probably 45 now, but he's most famous for the 4-Hour Work Week. It was kind of his big book that really put him on the map.
Yep.
And so in that book, he talks about having a virtual assistant and how his life just changed even though she was, I think in, like Sri Lanka or India or something like that. And that he was skeptical of this kind of, how can my assistant like remote like work? And she's ahead of the time schedule here. So she's ahead of where
She
he
must
is.
have been a night owl or something.
You
You needed
know
it
what I
in the
mean?
middle
Like
of-
emailing in the calling and just her, strategizing how to manage his business worked great. And I think we just went through that like 13-month experiment. Like this kind of does work. So I'm fascinated to see if that actually, maybe that's a business idea.
Well, I
Like
look
if
at
your
it.
buddy can't do it or wants I need someone to do this. Maybe
Yeah.
there's a need in the market for that.
Yeah.
Here, that's not.
Solve a need. That's the best product you can ever own a business doing.
The cool part about some of this stuff though too is like right now with just just distance learning and stuff and staff just having different stuff going on. I have a caller answering service answering any overflow phone calls.
Yeah.
So if I'm busy or whatever, because when people are calling in, I want someone to answer the phone.
Yeah.
And you look at the cost of that, and you look at what it would be to have someone at an office, full time, all the time. I mean, it's pennies on the dollar.
Yep.
And they do an amazing job. I call it like at least once a week just to make sure that they're doing a good job, and they do an amazing job.
Yeah.
I had a client today literally go, "So who's Brooke?" And I'm like, "I don't know."
She's in Sri Lanka.
Yeah, no.
Right.
But they're like,
Seriously.
"She did a great job. Did you just hire her?" I'm like, "I actually have never met her.
I don't
She's
know
a group
Brooke.
of like 50 gals that just take calls. And when your call popped up, it popped up on her screen. She answered it. She knows what to do, and that's good to go. She can't see any of your private information, but she sees, that she's answering this phone. And to me, that's amazing.
That's going to keep happening.
Yes.
But it's really cool to hear about what's happening, at your place, because I feel very far removed from that. Like in the beginning of my career, I was at a big place, and I got used to that, and now I'm kind of at the other end for size and resources. So it's interesting to hear that you mobilized in 60 days, which to me is effing nuts.
With 11,000 people.
Worldwide, we're a little over 15,000.
Oh my gosh.
We went from 2% remote to 2% on site in that short amount of time.
Unbelievable.
We actually just got an email from the CEO today addressing like the vaccine rollouts and schools and things like that. That's the main things that before we like set a plan for to go back to work. And they're looking at July, but not committing to it. Just been really, really open about, hey, it's not going to be the same. If you want to come in, you can. If you don't, you might be able to not. It's just going to be a hybrid of everything across the board based on role and location and all that stuff.
I don't know if it's going to be received like that here, like, in greater Minnesota.
You kind of look like a monk or something. You have no shoes on. You're like sitting all nice and
I'm just keeping my
what's
flexibility.
called crisscross applesauce. Isn't that what it's called? It used to be called Indian style back when I was in grade school. But
But I don't know if it'll
There
be
you go.
received.
Just offended someone.
well, I'm stating a fact. Is all I'm saying.
I
'cause
said that
that's what
earlier
it
in an
was
episode.
called.
He was like, no. And I was like, all right. Shame. Know your name.
I'm just stating a fact. That had nothing to do with anything. I did not disagree or agree or disagree.
Wait.
Whatever.
What's the Minnesota-ism? Well, I don't disagree. So you agree? Well, I'm not.
Okay,
Okay.
so do you think we talk like Canadians?
Well, I am one of us, so very much so. I
Okay,
think.
good. Do you like that?
I mean,
I think it's awesome.
I do too. It's recognizable and fun, and I get a kick out of playing it up when I'm talking to people from the South or
Yeah.
from the East Coast.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Oh,
I actually
you
like
betcha.
the.
Oh, for cute.
I like the Minnesota accent. Yeah, I'm not sure if I have it or if it blended into how I say some words over the years. I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It's like a mix of like where you grew up and where you live. Your voice and language changes, but I like the accent. I think this is going to sound weird. May sound weird, but I find it to be safe and like comforting. and like, this is probably a pretty good person.
Yeah.
It makes me feel like it's just not pretentious. It's not looking down on you. It's just a really nice, especially the true Canadian,
Yeah.
it's going to be a good day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We're going
Yeah.
to go on the snowmobile there,
Yeah. And you're like, all right, I can just like, you can feel the anxiety just going down. Or like if I hear like the worst voice in my head is like just a high pitched kind of Woody Allen inspired, just nails across the chalkboard voice, for me. It's why I'm just so happy. Like the Seinfeld episodes were not an hour long because and I love the show. Just like
Not that
ratchets.
there's anything wrong with that.
No, there's nothing wrong with that. But remember, what was it called? Coach?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hayden Fox.
Hayden Fox, right? Screaming Eagles or something like
Yeah,
that.
Minnesota State.
That show was nice and easy to watch. And so I think it's funny. We're watching this dude now, Larry Enticer. It's my son, Miles.
Send it.
Still going to send it.
Did I send that to you too, right?
Dude, it's awesome.
Yeah. Which,
Today's gonna be a good day. Gonna send it.
Yeah.
send it.
Get his Canadian tuxedo on.
Right, just the denim daredevil.
Awesome.
So I think it's fun, and he's got the great mullet. And he's hanging out, and like I feel no threat from this dude.
No.
Like you could bump up like into that guy, and
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
hey, how you doing there? Like I'm good. You want a bush? Yeah. You got any Bush Light? I don't drink that, but I got a bush. Okay. All right. Just being silly.
That's the
Still
good
gonna
stuff.
send it. So my kid, who's from Minnesota, obviously, his Canadian accent, being from Minnesota, is spot on. It's great. Miles and Lincoln have great, like real Canadian accents because it's not that far of a jump.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas like all my like aunts and uncles in Illinois and Florida and so on, they think that my kid's accent is hilarious. So I'm like, all right.
Yeah, I remember as a kid, like we would go on family vacation down to Florida, and the instant you talk to someone, oh, you're from Minnesota, and I'm like, how'd you know that? And this is like when I'm little, you don't really even realize there is such thing as an
You're like,
accent.
no.
Yeah, and I'm like, why? Well, because you said Minnesota, and I'm like, I don't say Minnesota. They're like, yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Like you did. It's really bad. And I'm
Well, it's
like,
funny
oh,
that
whatever.
so it's like, is it bag or bag? Bag or bag?
In Iowa, they call a bag a sack.
A sack, right? So is it like the grocery bag or the grocery bag?
I don't even know what I would say.
Like, how do you say bag?
It's a bag.
Bag.
It's a bag.
Right? Is it a boat or is it a
A boot?
boat?
It's a
A
boat.
boat, So I think that's what people think. Is it a bagel or is it a bagel? All those kinds of sounds that they think it changes. I don't see a big difference actually, but Coca-Cola or Coca-Cola. So is it Canadian or Minnesota? I don't know. I don't hear that, I guess, and I think that stupid movie by the Coen brothers, Fargo, really just screwed things up for 30 years. It's like, what's her name? Like Frances McDonald or
McDermott, yeah.
McDermott or McDonald,
Yeah.
whatever her name
William
is.
H. Macy.
Just really screwed it up. Because what's funny is like that dealership that they're filming him in is on like 494 or 394 or something, like in the cities. People don't sound like that in Minnesota.
No.
You go up north, it's different. If you go down like the south side of Chicago, I'm from the north side of Chicagoland area. Like the south side Chicagoland area, the accent is the super fans. Polar sausage,
Dicka.
Dicka. Polar sausage, the balls.
Isn't that cool though? Like
It's up there in the nose. The balls,
that's where like all Bears, like all
Yeah.
that stuff came from.
Oh, but that's all south side of Chicago.
Okay.
That's not the north side.
So like you even talked to someone in Mankato and you
Yeah.
talked to someone in New Ulm.
Different.
Way different.
Yeah.
They totally sound different.
So, do you wash your hands or do you wash your hands? I mean, like your family.
Do you drive a Chevy
or a Chivy?
Chivy?
In my family, it's a Chivy. My Uncle Bud's, it's a Chevy. So for you, is it Chevy?
Chevy.
Chevy?
Yep.
I've heard Chivy. Like that's
Chivy.
another one.
Yeah.
I have some clients that are out and they're like, "Well, go in the Chivy," and I'm
Yeah.
like, "The what?" And I'm like, you mean the pickup right there? The Chevy Silverado? Yeah, the Chivy. And I'm like, okay. All right, cool.
And what was the other one we were going to do? Chevy.
Chevy.
Wash. Is it wash or wash for you guys?
Wash.
Wash.
See,
See, it was
there's no R in there.
when I was a kid.
Grandma's for sure.
It was wash.
Wash the Davenport.
Yeah, wash the Davenport. Exactly.
What about batteries or batteries?
Batteries. It's
Dude,
deep.
I start saying batteries, and you can see how it freaks people out. I love doing it.
It's
I'm
a
like, do
D.
you have any batteries? And they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, batteries. Dude, I
It's
say
a
that,
D
and I
for
think it's
me.
hilarious.
One of my coworkers. Oh, what is it? It's not schedule. Oh, scenario.
Scenario. Okay.
Scenario.
Scenario.
But like every time I have to like, okay, don't make a move when she says scenario again.
Good. So, did you see that that advertisement last night? Oh yeah, I really like that advertisement. It's nice.
Advertisement. Yep.
Where are you from? So it's interesting just for people that haven't met. It's fun. So that's the reason why I wanted to ask the questions, because you guys haven't met.
Yeah.
But there's like the commonality and the bond is there that it just makes sense. And so like we did the whole like duck duck gray duck or duck duck goose or casserole
duck,
or
gray
hot
duck.
dish, right?
Of course.
So
Of
there's
course,
these-
it's Duck Duck Gray Duck.
So like the microculture stuff is super fun for me. I love to see that. But
You should have been a sociologist, I think. Maybe you were in a past life.
I just find it fascinating. And I'm glad we didn't take the cheap route on this podcast, because it would have been really easy to I've known you forever and I love you and you're my best friend and all that kind of shit.
Hey, remember the time?
Remember the time? Yeah, it was awesome. But it's like, let's talk about this stuff. So I'm thrilled and very happy, and would have been out of respect for you too, for Matt, just to have it be like three dudes hanging out and talking about stuff. So it's not like, all right, you guys know each other, that's great.
I still want to know like what some of the weird stuff that Wade did like back in high school. But we maybe not don't even want to get into that.
Maybe off camera, I can give you more fun stuff, but no, just I guess something that he isn't illegal is didn't turn out to be the greatest driver or caretaker of automobiles.
Really?
Horrible, dude.
Rear-ended a little old lady out in front of Fleet Farm with his red Dodge Daytona,
Wow.
Yeah.
and we went to the club one time downtown. And I was navigating, and I said, "Oh, the parking lot's right there. I think we can go through." And bottomed out on like 4 sets of railroad tracks,
Just
and we're freaking out.
got off the railroad tracks, cracked the radiator.
Cracked the radiator,
Yeah.
got off, and we're driving home. And finally, the engine melted, and we broke down underneath the Highway 13.
13 and
bridge.
35 W.
And there's cars merging.
And we're just
And
parked
they're
there.
flying by us, and we can like feel the car move when the wind goes. Like
yeah.
I'm pretty sure we looked at each other and said, "Hey man, if we don't make it through this, I love you, man."
I appreciate you. It was a good time. Stupid. Should have just went to Babes. No, I can totally cap to that 100%. Good student. I think a good friend, good son, all that kind of stuff.
Weren't you in the whatever of the who's who of Minnesota high school students?
I don't know if it was the state or the nation, but my dad.
Let's go with nation.
I'm pretty sure it was nation, but I'm just really hard on cars. I was super hard on cars. I mean, so like people are like, "How many cars have you had?" And I was like, "When?" I was like, I plowed
You
through,
got to take your socks off to count that high.
and a Dodge Daytona, 1986 Dodge Daytona Turbo Z, smashed it, just crunched it into the 1998 Plymouth Breeze in front of Fleet Farm in Lakeville, on the way to a Puff Daddy concert, Puff Daddy and the Family concert. Rest in peace, Biggie. Then I got, oh my God, I don't even remember. And then I got a 94 4-door
Is it a Grand Am?
Pontiac Grand Am SE.
Yeah.
And then I got, it melted that thing. And I had that car for like 6 weeks. I swear to God, I had it for like 2 months maybe, something like that.
Oh, your dad did not like us hanging out for a
And my
while.
dad was just so upset because he came to pick us up. And like my dad had a phrase that he used to just say to me repeatedly. That's just like etched in my brain, which is, "You're the dumbest smart kid I know." Seriously, how can you be so dumb? And I'm like, "You're the dumbest smart kid I know. How can you be smart and dumb at the same time?" "Sorry, Dad." He was like, "You need to have coolant in the motor, and that's how it did the engine ping and pop when it died." And I was like, "Yes." And he was like, "It's totaled." Fast forward, I get a Buick Regal.
Oh yeah.
Had a 91 Buick Regal sedan. Had that for literally a month and a half, 6 weeks. The engine exploded on 35 near Harry's Cafe, and like there's like a Walmart down there now, but it's like Merrick's Towing. My car broke down across the highway, headed south. I pulled over and I stopped and I was like, damn. I could see the towing place across the highway. Like, I'm staring at it. I'm calling Merrick's Towing, looking at it, going, "I need a tow." They're like, "How much is that?"
Just look
I was
out,
like,
look out the window. I'm over here.
I swear to God, I did it. And I was like, "Where are you?" And I was like, "If you look out your window, I'm waving." I'm in front of a silver Buick Century or something. Might have been a Century, actually. Yeah, Buick Century. They're like, "This is me." Like, "Okay, yep, I see you." And I was like, "Okay, so how much, this, going to be?" It'd be about $160, 150 bucks. And I was like, "I can see you. Is there any, like, if you can see the car you're picking up, is there a discount for that?" She's like, no. I was like, "All right, I'll wait." And I saw them come out and drive over the overpass by the mix stop, come back down, get the car. I was so embarrassed because it's like the third car in like, I don't know, 6 months, that I didn't even call my dad. I was like, "Hey, can you come pick me up?" And I think I walked to the mix stop and I got like a quarter pounder or something. And I just like sat there for a while and I called up a friend. It was either like Lindsay Larson or Anna Hammer. And I was like, I need a ride." And they're like, "Where are you?" I was like, "I'm at the mix stop." What are you doing there? Like, why can't you have her? Like, what?
It happened again.
I was like, I'm
Remember that thing that happened last weekend? It happened again.
It happened again.
I was like, my Buick blew up. Like, she's like, you wrecked another car?"
You're the dumbest smart kid we know.
Right. I was like, "I did." I was like, it's gone. It's totaled. Sorry. And then, then I had a 1990 Honda Prelude. Like, there's a bunch of cars. But anyway, that's super embarrassing. But I drove one of the cars super crashed up for like a year.
Just like, screw it.
I was like, your mom has a picture of that car. I would park this wrecked car in front. I drove for like a year. Like the hood like wouldn't shut, so I had to like poke holes in the hood with a screwdriver, and I tied the hood shut with rope. It's just the most gangster, just hood kid
Lakeville.
in Lakeville, and it did not go well. Like, I couldn't drive that car without the brights being on 100% of the time. Because the regular lights didn't work. It's true. I drove it 100% of the time. Brights on 100% of the time.
People are flashing. You're like, yep. Hey.
Sorry.
It's funny. It's like,
Yeah, I know the hood looks like it's gonna fall off. I know it's tied on.
Like Tommy Boy. You just see the hood going up. Ah!
that hood, like, I sold shoes at Kinney in Eden Prairie, or there and Southdale. And that hood, that shitty hood, the reason why I had to tie it down with ropes is it did come up on the highway. It popped up on the highway going 70 plus miles an hour on 35 going south. I swear to God. It popped up, and I was going southbound, and I had to get into the right lane because I was like zooming in the left lane. I went to the right lane. I had to look in the mirror and try to find the white line to know when I could pull over. Because I couldn't see shit. I couldn't see anything. So I was like, all right, so I think the shoulder is here, and I'm slowing down, and like my hood is up. Like, I mean, up over the windshield up. Okay? You cannot make this stuff up. And I pinned it down, and I was so angry. And hood, boom! And I was like, oh! And I said a bunch of other things. And I finally pulled over, and I like rolled the hood back down and slammed it down, went in the back of the hatch, got the screwdriver and the rope, and I tied that thing shut, and I drove it home to my dad's house. And my adrenaline's super high. I walk in, I'm like, "Hey, Dad." He's like, "Yeah, what happened? What's up?" I was like, "The hood popped up on the highway when I was driving." And my dad's really like, "Oh, like how much?" And I'm like over the entire windshield. It was like a piece of aluminum foil. It really rolled over the windshield. He's like, "Oh, well, you didn't die." And he's like,
Yeah,
"Well,
I know,
okay."
Dad.
I was like, "Thanks, Dad." And I was like, "Can we go look at that?" And he's like, "Can we have dinner first?" "Sure, fine, yep, absolutely, you bet, man.
You betcha.
Thank you, thank you for your care and concern." He's like, "That's a good experience for you." I was like, "Thanks, Dad. You're awesome. Thanks for your parenting." Stupid. I love that car, but that really happened. So that's probably, yeah, I don't know. That was bad.
That's up there.
But then since then I've no crashes, nothing major, man.
Now you're adulting.
Yeah, I swear to God.
That's the thing, when you do so much stupid shit when you're growing
Oh
up,
my God.
you grow up and you ideally learn from it at some point. And I think we're just gonna be the dads that are like 3 sentences ahead with the kids, or 3
Yeah.
moves ahead, knowing
Yeah.
what they're gonna do and all that.
Well,
I grew up, my dad would be like, "Matt, I know what you're going to do. Like, I already know." And I'm like, "Yeah, right." He's like, I did all that. Like, I know exactly what your plan
there's
is.
some variations, but it's the,
Yeah,
it's the
he's like,
same
Yep.
script.
it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, I know it's, you might have a cell phone, but that doesn't matter. This is ultimately
shit.
what you're going to try to do. And I'm like,
Superman is still Clark Kent.
nuh-uh,
It's like, okay,
Dad.
You have a study group, huh? Okay.
good,
Really?
awesome, really.
where?
What's her name?
Yeah.
Mary Jane is your study partner. Mary Jane, Matt. Mhm. Good, yeah. You guys gonna study green living? Is it, Matt? Have a great time, son. But I wasn't the only one that piled stuff into stuff either.
No,
So-
like I said, and that's why I went in there saying we did a lot of stupid stuff growing up.
I sure missed that BMW.
Yeah.
That was a fun car before it got smashed.
Yeah, yep. That was my first time defending myself in court, or
remember that.
representing myself in court. I won
Yeah.
The first time?
the first time.
Yeah. But I think that what was fun is when that BMW went to the junkyard, until the white Chevy Cavalier,
Chivy?
which I don't even know if they make Cavaliers anymore, but this was a cool one. Had like a leather,
Oh, I got a bra for it. Make it
black
look
leather
sporty.
bra to make it look cool.
Yeah.
So like,
Do they even do that for
I don't-
cars
I have
anymore?
no idea. I have no
don't
idea.
I
do.
think so.
yeah, they never fit the greatest, but they look cool. The car in between that loan, you're like convincing your mom to co-sign for this loan. So I think that's what happened. She's like, "No, come on, Ma, I'll pay you back." She's like, "No, you won't," and you did. Yeah. But the truck was the tweener vehicle,
The effer.
the effer.
Yeah. This thing was 78 long box F-150, single cab, and it was jacked up in the back, so it was a little higher.
Like this.
And my stepdad, who bought it, I think he bought it new
Yeah.
in '78, had it the whole time. He had winter tires and summer tires, big, fat, wide chrome summer tires. So like every year, we'd get out there when it's nice out, change the tires, get it all ready. But on the inside, it had like 6-inch shag hair coming down,
Oh, yeah.
like total '70s. I put like the CD deck in it and 6x9s and speakers and stuff, made it a whole high school car. But before it was a high school car, sorry for the story I'm about to tell. In the glove box was just a little flap like this.
Yep.
You open it, and in there's like a sticker, like old arcades. You put a quarter in, you get a sticker out.
Yeah.
It said, "Born on a mountain, raised in a cave, trucking in a is all I crave."
So that sticker is in there. I swear to God. And this thing had a topper too.
Yes, it was like a nature.
That had a
deer scene.
nature vista painted on it. And
It was blaze orange, by the way.
blaze orange. The whole truck, yeah.
It was automatic.
But the topper wasn't blaze orange.
No, it was automatic transmission, and you could peel out just by hitting the gas. 400 cc big engine.
And since I'm always in, like at that time, I was always in between cars, kind of all the time. Which, I'm like, "Hey man, can I get a ride to school?" and I think the Beamer was done. And he comes up and it was just like, all right, let's do it. He shows up in the effer. I'm like, I definitely live in Lakeville. It's just like brand new subdivision houses and stuff. And this gnarly truck, which at that time was 20 years old then,
Yeah.
with the nature scene painted on it and the shag inside. Like it was rusty and all kinds of, it was a baller truck. Fit right in, baby. Really did.
You don't, like, there were, not all the time, but you could pull up to school in Mankato East and there would be like 3-4 snowmobiles in the winter. And that's like how I personally rode my snowmobile a couple of times to school.
That's awesome.
From Eagle Lake. I'm like, this is awesome.
Did you really?
Yeah, totally.
That's
Pulled up to
cool.
high school on a snowmobile. It was awesome.
I think I remember some of that at Lakeville.
We had that, yeah, because back then it was the end of civilization, so like Elko, New Market, and some of those other like whatever. What's the village?
Credit River
incorporation.
Township.
Yeah.
Like,
They would all come to schools, like the Elko Speedway, the Fox Racing Jacket crew.
So I'll just close on that. Man, it's first day of school at Lakeville High in '96. There was an announcement that they were changing the guns on campus policy, and you could no longer bring your rifles or whatever into school and like keep them in your locker, but you could safely secure them in your vehicle in the parking lot, or if you had a gun rack on your vehicle. And this was announced. And like I'm from a place, where there are guns for other purposes. Typically, there's more gun violence, just like gang violence generally. And so to hear that the first day, I was like, man, I am not in Kansas anymore. They're being safer. You can keep your guns in your truck and stuff, and it was nuts, man. It was just a totally different world.
Yeah.
So that's.
We would purposely try to not have a class first hour, especially our senior year.
Same.
Because we wanted to go duck hunting.
Yeah.
And that was a thing. If
Yep.
you'd show up and you would just, you might have a little bit of like duck blood still on you, or you have a few like down feathers that are on your pants. And you'd show up to second hour and be like, "Did you get any today?" It's like, "Yeah, got 4." It's like, "Oh, sweet. Okay, well, you
Where
ready
you
for the
going? Not
quiz?"
telling ya.
Yeah, ready for the quiz? I'm like, "Quiz?
Well, we're gonna get started.
I better go sit next to Ashley because she's real smart."
Yeah, I'd skip school in the morning to go pheasant hunting at the right time if it was a good day. My dad's like, "You're gonna miss this." I was like, "All right, cool." But no, a big shout out, big thank you to Brandon Lee Hayes. Hope you had fun and enjoyed it. Just thanks for being a good friend, being a good guest, and let's keep the cars off the railroad tracks for a little while longer.
Keep the engines intact.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's blow some stuff up in the future.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Cheers.